First of all, happy Halloween! I make portfolio update videos each month. I do this because I want to show that it's possible to retire on $500,000 or less. It really all depends on your expenses. I share the percent increase in my portfolio each month. My portfolio has been steadily growing since I retired, and I'm not contributing anymore, and I'm using that money to pay all of my living expenses. That's something I wasn't really expecting. I've been using a safe withdrawal rate of 2.6%. Originally, I had been planning on 3.5%, but I just haven't needed that much. My hope was to earn 7% growth each year and pull 3.5% out as my safe withdrawal rate and have 3.5% left to cover inflation. I also haven't started Social Security yet. Once I start that, I'll need to pull even less from my portfolio. The average U.S. inflation rate over the last 20 years is about 2.6%. If you look at this chart, you can see that 2021 and 2022 were just terrible. It was also a terrible time in the market. That's still fresh in our minds and it's scary, but it has come back down. It fluctuates, but many of the causes of the high post-pandemic inflation have faded. Economists expect the inflation to fall even further as these effects recede. It may rise in the short term for a little while before moderating, but it should eventually level out. I feel like 3.5% to cover inflation is right for my comfort level. Everyone has a different comfort level. I'm assuming yearly inflation will be between 2 and 4%. The Fed goal is 2%. So planning for 3.5% gives me some wiggle room. It's hard to predict this. So most of us use historical data to make these assumptions. As long as your investments grow substantially faster than inflation, you'll be okay. Also, retirees often experience lower realized inflation than reported inflation. This is because many of us have lower exposure to highly inflationary expenses. Housing, transportation, childcare, things like that. Many government programs like Social Security also get a cost of living adjustment equal to the reported inflation. So one of the main ways people keep up with inflation is the stock market. After you retire, inflation is still a factor, so you may want a portion of your savings in the stock market. Over long periods of time, like decades, the stock market has returned from 7 to 10% per year, and inflation's been 2 to 3% per year. That's not always true in shorter periods, and there's no guarantee for the future. But the general idea is the stock market usually grows faster than inflation over the long term. I do make a little money from YouTube just because I know someone will bring this up if I don't cover it. I'm super grateful. It's been a fun retirement hobby for me and it's allowed me to pull less from my nest egg. I love that, but my portfolio has been growing much more than the YouTube income I'm getting. In my first year, my portfolio would have still grown over $32,000 even without my YouTube income. I'm so happy that it grew a little more than that because of the YouTube income, but I would be fine without it. What I would personally like to do is not touch the original principal amount in my portfolio so that I could have it for emergencies or to leave to my children. If my original balance doesn't go down in the next 20 years, I'll be super happy. That way, when I'm 80, that money will be there for long-term care or emergencies or whatever I need it for. I realize with inflation that $500,000 won't be worth what it is today in 20 years. This inflation calculator says it would be worth $318,846 in 20 years. I feel like that amount combined with my paid off house value, which is currently $375,000, should be enough to cover emergencies. My house can be sold to cover long-term care or other big emergencies, but if I don't need long-term care, then my kids get to keep all of that money. AI says 56% of adults develop a severe long-term care need. So maybe I'll need long-term care, maybe I won't. At some point, retirees may draw down their principal amount of their nest egg to cover living expenses. I mean, that's what it's there for. I'm not worried about getting to the end of my life with a full retirement account. I just don't want to get there with an empty one. So when I retired, I had $534,125 in all accounts for retirement. My goal is to keep $500,000 in there. If it drops below $500,000, I'll be disappointed, but not devastated. The current value of my portfolio is $596,548, and that's at the end of September 2025. So I'm not concerned at this time. I've had some comments on YouTube saying I'm actually down when you take inflation into account. I'm not sure how they're doing their math, but it's up 5% per year after paying all of my living expenses. I look at it over a 1-year period. If I'm pulling 2.6 to 3.5%, then I need another 3.5% to cover inflation. So I want to earn like 6.5% or more. In September, my gains were 4.8% after paying all of my living expenses. After all of my withdrawals, it only needed to be up 3 to 3.5% to cover inflation. If I hadn't pulled any money out, the growth would have been between 7 and 8%. I'll be happy if it's just 3% per year after paying all of my expenses to cover inflation. For my personal comfort level, I just don't want to see the total balance drop below $500,000. And while I would love for there to be some money left there for my kids and my grandkids to inherit, they'll be fine if there's not. All 3 of my kids have college educations and good jobs. I use Bolden and I love Bolden. It says I have a 95% chance of fully funding my retirement through longevity. And my wealthiest year is projected to be when I'm 91 years old. I'm not sure if I'll still be alive then, but if I am, I'll be looking good. You can run Monte Carlo simulations. These simulations model many possible future outcomes. They run thousands of trials with randomized monthly returns. It accounts for inflation too by randomly varying the inflation rates over the 1,000 simulations it does. It also varies your asset returns to generate a range of possible outcomes. It gives you the probability of your plan's success. I totally get the fear people have about inflation, market crashes, recessions, and on and on. I have them too, we're human, but at what point will you feel like you have enough money? Running out of money in retirement is just not something most people want to risk. If online tools aren't enough to calm your fears, you can always meet with a fee-only fiduciary planner to go over your plan. They can run the numbers with you. There's always going to be financial uncertainty. But there's also uncertainty about how much longer we get to live. My biggest fear wasn't running out of money. It was missing out on my healthy retirement years. There are so many different variables. Are you married? Do you own your home? Do you want to leave money to your heirs? The best way to stop worrying is to fully understand your expenses and have a plan. That way you can change things up as they shift and adjust if necessary. You could cut your expenses, freeze your property taxes, downsize. Take on a roommate, sell your home, start a side hustle. Getting hired as an older person can be challenging, but self-employment can be great if you find something you enjoy. Even something simple like thrift shopping and reselling the items. What about you? Has inflation scared you into working longer? How are you planning for inflation? If you want to share, feel free to leave a comment. If you're seeing me for the first time, hi, I'm Julie and this channel's Happy on Monday. Thanks for joining me. If you found this helpful, please like. And if you're interested in retiring early, consider subscribing. I'm going to leave you with a quote. No amount of regret can change the past, and no amount of worry can change the future. Hope to see you again soon.